Hello and welcome back. Today we're looking at the top 10 goal-scoring wingers, and these are guys that mesh well with the data draft strategy, which focuses on cornering the market on goal-scoring wingers, as they are relatively scarce in terms of positional value. So we'll throw in a bunch of honorable mentions at the end with some focus on finding value late in your drafts, but let's kick it off with number 10. At number 10, we've got Steven Stamkos, and we'll start with the good. The good thing is he's been very consistent over the last 3 years, 73, 69, and 71 in this new combined rating, which measures completeness and weighting kind of in the same metric. So he's been relatively complete and stable over that time frame. He's been incredibly productive for a player of his age. If we take a look at his 3-year average metrics, 38 goals, 90 points, 36 on the power play. All of that is excellent for points leagues. If you're in a point league that weighs power play points a little bit heavier, goals, power play goals a little bit heavier, this is going to be a player that should be on your radar every single season. Last year, he followed it up with 40 goals, 81 points, 39 of those on the power play, and 19 power play goals. But that is now a downside in his file because he's moving from a team he's played with his entire career, coming over to Nashville, and he's no longer on that dynamic Tampa Bay power play. They do have weapons for him to work with in Nashville, but to expect him to put up 39 power play points and 19 power play goals is unreasonable at this point until we see it. So he's been a dual position threat, center, left wing. That's good to see. The 1 point per game is nice. The shot volume at 3.32 is nice as well. The power play numbers are the main feature for his file, and he does hit. About a hit per game is really nice to see. That's sort of a veteran player rounding out his profile. So overall, not that bad, pretty complete, but at ADP 45, that's a little bit early for me. He's a guy that I would target after the 6th round when I want to start to take on some risk. I don't like taking risk in the first 6 rounds, so I'll probably stay away from Stamkos, but I just don't know how early you want to do that, especially at ADP 45. That's a little bit early for what I like to see. Up at number 9, we've got Jason Robertson, and he had a bit of a down year last year. You can see it trailing off here from around a 75 down to a 62 in terms of his combined rating. He's around a point per game, 80 points in 82 games last year, stayed healthy last year, which was nice to see. He still had 28 power play points, almost 30 goals, 51 assists. He had 19 power play assists, 9 power play goals. The shot volume was a little bit low, so if we take a look at his 3-year average down here at the bottom, you can see 38 goals, 89 points, 30 power play points, but the 3.32 shot volume compared to 2.82 last year is a big drop off, and that's probably why he didn't score as much. He was 10 goals below his 3-year average. So he's been up above 40 before. Last year took a big dip below 30. I would expect a bounce back from him. However, the problem with this file is that ADP 27 is not that bad. You should be able to get some value there. But based on the fact that he now has a new line mate, he's going to have to find someone else to play with because Pavelski has retired. That's going to add a little bit of risk to this. I would fade this just a touch into the 30 to 40 range. At that point, it would probably be a value play based on goal upside alone. You just hope that the shot volume comes back a little bit better. He will still be on that top power play, so that is a nice addition to his file. Now, up at number 8, we have a player who's sort of the opposite, and that is Zach Hyman. He had an incredible season last year. You can see here 54 goals on the year, 77 points, so not that many assists, but a staple on that top power play, 15 power play goals, 20 power play points. So you're getting the power play production from him. You're getting shot volume. 3.63 is 98th percentile last year, and it's kind of been the case for a number of years now. Zach Hyman averaging 3.5 shots per game over the last 3 seasons. So you're going to get the shot volume. You're going to get goals. Even in his 3-year average, averaging 39 goals per season, you're getting dual position eligibility, which you love to see in fantasy. And then on top of all of that, you are getting about a hit per game. So he does add a little bit extra value there in points leagues, bringing up his floor, in categories leagues, making him a little bit more complete. But at ADP 20, that is very, very early for a player with a relatively low point ceiling. So his point ceiling, he had 77 points last season. As I find his 3-year average, he's averaging 71. So under a point per game average over the last number of years. You are mainly getting goals and shots with a couple of hits and power play points. That's a lot to cover. It's really beneficial to have, but at ADP 20, you're competing with some guys that have, 1.2 point per game or 1.3 point per game upside. You're looking at guys, potentially Nylander going in that range, Mitch Marner going in that range, and then you're going to compare that to Zach Hyman, who kind of has a ceiling probably about 20 points below that at the very least. So a little bit early for Zach Hyman. I do expect some regression in goal scoring, but he is a consistent goal scorer, even if they do regress a little bit. So this is a guy that you can count on. I just wouldn't do that at ADP 20. Now, similar file, another 50-goal scorer, Sam Reinhart, 82 games last year, 57 goals, 94 points in a contract year. So he got paid in the offseason. He also got his Stanley Cup ring. 27 power play goals for Sam Reinhart last year. That is one of the main reasons why he bumped his total up to 57. That's going to do it for you. And that's all with 2.84 shots per game. So that's not elite level shot volume. So he was shooting pretty accurately, a high shooting percentage. I don't have it off the top of my head, but he is a pretty consistent player in all of these offensive metrics. You can see as I turn over and try to find his 3-year average, you've got 40 goals on the 3-year average, 40 assists, 81 points, 30 power play points, and averaging around 19 power play goals. So even if he does regress off of those numbers from last year, you're going to get a 40-goal pace. You're going to get about 20 power play goals and about 30 power play points. So that's the nice floor to his file. He is a center right wing, which is extremely valuable in fantasy. I believe there's only 2 or 3 of them in fantasy this year. So if you're in a face-off league, if you're in any kind of league where you're going to have flexibility needed on the right side because you're trying to stack those right wingers that are elite level, this is an excellent pickup in the second round. I would like to get him at the maybe beginning of the third, a little bit after this range. If he does start to fall a little bit, that would provide a little bit extra value. Remember, they had the short summer, so he didn't get a huge offseason in there. And he did take a massive jump from 57 to 68. So there is a little bit of regression possibility there. And I don't like regression in this ADP range. I'd like it in the 30s or 40s where you could potentially have 2 or 3 other guys ahead of him that you've already drafted that could make up for that. So it's still a very consistent goal scorer. He's a very valuable center right wing, dual eligible player. And this would be a guy that I would be targeting in points leagues more so that weigh the power play metrics, because he's going to get you those power play goals, which are usually weighted a little heavier. Speaking of power play goals, we have to talk about Ovechkin. I talked about him in a previous video. You can see here on the trending downward every single season. So this is kind of that twilight of his career. He's played 18 seasons and he's had 18 consecutive 30-plus goal seasons. So that's consistency in terms of his floor. Last year was the lowest goal total of his career, barring the lockout and injury seasons. He had 31 goals in 79 games. In the second half, he was averaging over a 40-goal pace. He was actually 47-goal pace in the second half last year. If he can keep that up, he will break Wayne Gretzky's goal-scoring record this season. So that is the motivation for him. I know he didn't look that great in that one off-season video, but you have to expect that he's a goal scorer. He's been dreaming about this for a couple of years, and he wants to go out and get it. 28 power play points, only 5 game winners, 13 power play goals is still a little bit low if you consider how many Sam Reinhart had. But this is a guy who is chasing down history, and this is the lowest ADP you've probably ever seen him, and that is 44. I would probably take a shot on him there because there is value, there is upside in that range, and he still averages 2 hits per game and almost 3.5 shots per game. So even if he's not scoring goals at the same level that he was, he's still 93rd percentile there in his lowest season ever. And then you're still 97th percentile shots, 95th in power play, and then 83rd percentile in hits for a forward who's going to be at the top of your lineup. So even in an off year, his file looks very complete and very something that you would definitely want in a categories league. And then obviously the power play production is great for points leagues as well. I would definitely look at Ovechkin in that range in ADP 44. There is some risk there, but at that range, you could potentially take that and still have some upside left on the table. Up next at number 5, we have Chris Kreider. He just quietly goes about his business and scores power play goals. Last year, 97th percentile, 39 goals in 82 games, 75 points, 29 power play points, 18 power play goals. His career high is 26. So there is still some upside left in terms of power play production. He's cemented on that top unit. and that's been a staple of his for a number of years. He's been drafted much later than this in years past. This is a relatively high ADP, but it kind of reflects what he actually is in terms of being a goal scorer with some pretty decent shot volume. 3 shots per game. Power play production is really good. Hits, 1.21 hits per game is nice as well if you're in a categories league. The only thing that is kind of a knock on his file is the overall point totals or the point ceiling. You can see here 75 and 82. The assists are not quite there. They kind of have been at times in the past, but still averaging 42 goals each year over the last 3, 26 assists. So a lot fewer assists, and that's bringing down his point total to a 68 in terms of his 3-year average. So the only knock on his file is the lack of assists. Everything else is relatively complete. Doesn't block any shots, but the hits are nice. Shot volume, power play, goals, all the things you like to see. He is a single position left winger, but he should be a guy cemented on that power play. You don't have to worry about it. There's very low risk there. He's getting top line minutes with Zibanejad and potentially Riley Smith or whoever else they factor in on that top line. So very safe pick there with Kreider. A little bit early in the ADP. I'd like to see him drop just a little bit for me to pick him up there. But this is the last of the value plays. Now you got to pay a premium to get these guys. Number 4, Mikko Rantanen, ADP 8.8. That's pretty accurate for what he should be. This has him at RW4. It could be RW3 depending on how you look at it. And if you look at his trend, he was trending up each year until this season. It looks like a downward trend and sort of an off year, but it definitely was not. 1.3 point per game, 42 goals, 62 assists, 104 points, 40 of those on the power play, 9 game winners, 14 power play goals, 26 power play assists is phenomenal to see there. So his power play production, 99th, shots, 97th, 3.39 per game, 98th in assists, 99th in goals and points. He does block a couple shots. He doesn't hit all that much, especially, he's a taller guy. He could probably get in there and bump his hit totals up maybe 1 hit per game, and he would be one of the elite level guys. He already is offensively, but just to round it out and make it more complete. But this is a guy you just set it and forget it. You don't have to worry. He's cemented on their top power play with Nathan MacKinnon. I had him last year. I was very happy, satisfied with what he could produce. He's not going to be a Kucherov with a 1.7, 1.8 point per game ceiling. However, you're going to get this consistent production. You're going to get really excellent goal totals year after year, averaging 44 on the last 3 years and 100 points. That's Pasternak level, essentially, in terms of 3-year average. But this is a guy you don't really have to worry about. He's been relatively healthy, 96.3% of his games over the last 3 years. So this is a very safe play at 8.8. I would not feel bad at all making that pick if you're in that 6 to 10 range in the first round. So this is a guy I have gone to before. This next player is number 3, and their guy I'm very high on this season, Kirill Kaprizov. All the signs are there for him to have a breakout year. You can see him very consistent over the last 3 seasons, and as you look at the 3-year averages, 44 goals, 48 assists, 93 points, 34 on the power play, 16 power play goals, 3.79 shots per game, so slightly higher than Rantanen. And then what you're going to see from last year, 46 goals, 96 points, just slightly above, 41 power play points, 8 game winners, 19 power play goals, 22 power play assists. So all of those elite level metrics that you have in point leagues, he has all of them. And on top of that, he's yet to break out for that massive season that you had from like Kucherov last year or other players who popped for that 1.4, 1.5 point per game. But he was at that pace in the second half last season. He was at a 1.5 point per game pace and a 60 goal pace. So he showed flashes of him being able to do that. I believe he had something like 21 goals in the last 23 games of the season. And not to say that he can keep that up all year, but if he gets on one of those heaters next year, he could pop for more than this point total. And yet, even if he doesn't, he's very valuable at ADP 14 for what he's going to provide. He's giving you first round value in the middle of the second round. And if that's the case, I would assume this ADP is going to drop down into the 10s or below, just because of the fact that these are very early ADPs. But if he doesn't, if he's there, just run up and grab him because he will be very dynamic this year. One of the elite level left wing goal scorers that you can find. The number 1 elite level goal scorer that you can find, Leon Draisaitl, dual position center left wing eligible. This is completely incorrect. He is 1 or 2 in terms of positional rank, depending on whether he's a center or a left wing. He is ADP 5, which is kind of disrespectful considering he's the only dual position eligible player in that top 5. But if you seem to get him at 5, you will be laughing all the way home. Now, he did have what looks like a down year, but it is not by any stretch of the imagination. I assume the shot volume is the number one thing that came down. 2.68 shots per game, 21 power play goals, 41 on the year. He's been up above 50 several times, so maybe that's why it dropped off a little bit. But 106 points last year, 39 on the power play, 7 game winners, 21 power play goals. Basically everything you like to see, and he's dual position eligible. So that is one of the nicer things to see in his file. Now, as we look at his 3-year averages, 49 goals. So that is right around, I believe he had 2 50-plus seasons, and then you average in last year's, which was a down year in that category, I guess. But 114-point average, again, a little bit lower than that last year. 47 power play points is elite level. If you can get that from him, that's his 3-year average. He was below that last year as well. 25 power play goals. So basically, he underperformed very slightly in all of those metrics. So that's why you're getting a discount at ADP 5. Normally, he's the second guy off the board. You don't really have to think about it. Now you do because of McKinnon, because of Matthews, and maybe even Pastrnak or Kucherov, who've been, exploded for those seasons the last couple seasons. But this is a guy that you don't have to worry about at all either. He's an elite level goal scorer with 50-plus potential. The shot volume, again, a little bit low for what I would like to see from an elite level player. McKinnon is almost double that. So that's what you would like to see out of Draisaitl. Just shoot the puck more. But other than that, very healthy, very consistent, and should be there for you. If you're at 5, I would definitely run up and grab him, especially for the positional flexibility. And that brings us to number 1. That's David Pastrnak. He's number 1 right wing. This is incorrect. He's 1.34 point per game, 0.57 goals per game. All these are 99th, 98th, or 100th percentile. The shot volume is elite level, 4.66. The only player better is Nathan McKinnon at around 5 shots per game. You got 35 power play points out of him last year, 110 points, 47 goals. And again, that 4.6 shot per game is massive if you're in a categories league or a league that uses any kind of heavy shot weighting. And then when you look at his 3-year averages, they're just as impressive. 49 goals, basically almost 50 goal pace over the last 3 seasons, 100-point average. The power play numbers are always there. The game winners, 9 game winners. So if you're in a points league that weighs those a little bit as well, he's been really good. And then his 3-year shot per game average is 4.8. So he's been above 5 shots per game in the past, shooting a little bit less last year, but still 100th percentile, I believe second in the league in that time frame. He's a single position right winger, but I would definitely not worry about position when you're drafting this guy. He should be ahead of ADP 6. That feels like a little bit disrespect for a player of his caliber, but when you see what Kucherov did last year, and then you add all of those, centers, you got McDavid, Draisaitl, Matthews, McKinnon, and then you factor in Brady Tkachuk getting somewhere, thrown in there every now and then. But this is a guy you don't really have to worry about. You can see here as high as an 87, down a little bit, up to an 88, and then down a little bit. So there is some room for improvement there, but he's still elite level, and I wouldn't necessarily consider anyone else as the RW1. But let's take a look at some of the other players that were part of this list, but maybe not the top 10, so you can find some value in your draft. So as we look at the top 10 goal-scoring wingers over a 3-year average, there's a couple of other guys outside the top 10. We've got Tage Thompson, who screwed me last year. 29 goals. He was averaging 38, so well below that last season. This could be a nice bounce back, and if you're going to get him at ADP 43, there is some value there. He is dual position eligible as well, and he should be a power play merchant. That power play was terrible last year. They should be back better this year. But then you also have William Nylander, who's very consistent. 40 goals last year, 38 on his 3-year average, and you're finding him around the second round, so 17 is probably what you're going to have to pay to get him. Kyle Connor's been a guy that I've liked for a long time, that mid-30 goal pace, 37.3 average over the last 3 years, and you're getting that ADP essentially, 37.2. So this is a guy who's relatively good value in that 3rd, 4th round range if you can find him. That's where I would have liked to have gotten Philip Forsberg. Unfortunately, you have to pay a premium on him now, and he's coming off a career season in terms of goals. 48 goals. His 3-year average is 36, 0.3. He doesn't usually stay healthy. He's always battling something. So this is a guy that is very risky at this ADP. I'd like to see him a lot further down the list. We have Matthew Tkachuk. You know what you're going to get out of him. The goal totals were down a little bit year over year, about 10 fewer goals than his 3-year average, but you're getting a lot of positional value in terms of dual position eligibility in the first round, and you're getting a guy who covers hits a little bit here and there and shots, power play, all the stuff that you like. Very reasonable ADP for him. He's usually going in that range, so this is what you're going to have to get, and you might get him on a bounce back in terms of offensive production, but they did have the short summer, so be aware of that. You've got Jake Gensel coming to a new team, slightly under his 3-year average. If he's factoring in on that top power play, we have to see how that top power play works because he won't be on the right side. That will be Kucherov's spot, so where will he fit? But a guy who's usually very good 5-on-5, so you shouldn't have to worry too much about his floor. A couple of other value guys. One guy I want to touch on is Timo Meier. 28 goals last year, a lot of those coming in the second half. There was a stretch there after the trade deadline, once Toffoli was gone, that Timo Meier became Timo Meier again. Back when he was playing with the Sharks, he could put up 4 shots per game. I would expect him to be closer to that this season. And obviously, top 6 in New Jersey is something very valuable this year. To get him at ADP 72 would be incredible value. He's dual position eligible, and he always gives you some hits as well, 1 to 2 hits per game, depending on the year. So this is a guy, very physical, power winger, dual position eligible. To get him at 72 would be massive value. A couple of other guys that we should touch on. Carter Verhaeghe, 34 goals last year, 33.3, very consistent is Verhaeghe. He's a center left wing dual eligible, and to get him around 59 should be good value. Jonathan Marchessault, he's coming to a new team. That 42 goals was a career high. I would expect regression there. At 96, there may be a case to add some value there by betting on upside and not really worrying about the new team that he's coming to, but it will be interesting to see if he factors in on the top power play as the bumper guy, because that could increase his value above this 96 ADP. Clayton Keller is a guy who's very consistent as they come, averaging around 33, picks up 33 goals last year. Going around 71, that should be a value play, dual position eligible. He's usually a point per game guy as well. Jared McCann might be your best goal scorer in terms of value, 148 ADP, and he's been averaging 32 per season. You would expect Seattle to have a bounce back. Last year, they were terrible offensively. This year, they bring in a couple of other guys into the fold. Hopefully, you can get Matty Beniers going this year as well again. Then you have McCann as a center left wing, dual position eligible at 148, who's around a 30-goal pace. I would love to see that if he's still available in the 12th round. Jeff Skinner, this is an upside play. Coming over to Edmonton, he could get some time with Leon Draisaitl. That would be very valuable. If you're a Skinner owner at 142, it's worth the risk and the bet on the upside. We do have to talk about Mitch Marner. He's never really been a goal scorer, 30-goal average, 26 last year, but it is a contract year, so this would be an opportunity for him to try to break 100 points and get that massive payday, get himself out of Toronto with that payday, because I can't imagine them matching that, but they've done stupider things in the past. And then you also have Gabe Landeskog, who's coming back off injury. I would not expect this. This is basically his total from right before he got injured in 21-22. But it will be interesting to see where he goes in your draft, because there is upside there just based on where he could fit in their lineup if he is healthy. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned as we tackle the centers and defense for this top 10 goal scoring section.